Violin. I'm sure all of you have heard how it sounds, maybe in concerts, maybe in some pieces of music, maybe on YouTube. But how many of you have actually held a violin? Wow, good for you. So if we have enough time, I really want to, at the end of the speech, pass down violin around the table and just let you take a closer look. We'll see how well we do with the time. What I want to focus on today is two main things. One is the violin techniques. What are all the ways to play the violin? Because there are so many ways to play it. And second, I want to actually demonstrate the techniques so that you can put the words with the sound, how it sounds. And if you have enough time, like I said, I'll pass around the room and I'll find what to talk about. But mostly I want to focus on techniques. So techniques, there are 102 violin techniques, so 102. Okay, that's a lot. I'm not going to obviously go over all of them, and I will be focusing on 5 today. 5. 2 are very common, detach and legato. 2 are not so common, but kind of fun, pizzicato and staccato. And the 5th one is actually a fusion. It's not a violin technique. You know that I sing, so it's a fusion of violin and the voice together at the same time. Extremely uncommon, almost nobody does it. But I thought it'd be something fun to experiment. So,
has anybody ever heard the All I Want for Christmas violin version? Sounds so. Oh, sorry, I thought I was muted.
But yeah, there is a lot of violins in modern music as well. Thanks for bringing it up. I think that's what you were talking about somewhere. So going back to the techniques, the first one, detach. What it is about is basically you use one note per stroke of the bow. Detach, and it's kind of similar to the English word detached, but it's all this terminology is pretty much Italian. Detach. So it can be fast, it can be slow, but the bottom line is one note per stroke. The next one, legato, is very similar. It's one of the 2 probably most commonly used techniques, detach and legato. So legato is very similar, but you string a few notes with one bow string, 2 or more. Legato. Do I hear somebody saying something? Okay, maybe not. So detach and legato, every musical piece for violin you open, you will see that. Pretty much every single one will contain them. Extremely commonly used. Oh, wow, somebody's bringing a guitar. Ken, I would love to speak to you about maybe doing a duet at some point. That would be so very fun.
Cool, I just want to show you how great I am at guitar. You're so good at violin. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. We can definitely talk about it later on in the meeting. Thank you for knowing. I know there are a lot of musicians here. I know a lot of you guys can play something, or some of you can also sing. So it'll be very fun to do something together, I think. Think about it. The third technique, called pizzicato, it's actually not something that you play with a bow. It's what you use a finger for it, and you just pluck the strings with it. And it's kind of used to produce like a sneaky type of a mood or something unexpected, maybe playful. Not very commonly used, but I remember it was so much fun when I was just learning how to play it to use this technique, pizzicato. The fourth one is called staccato. Also kind of fun, not very common. You use also just one strike per bow per note, but it's fast and the bow kind of flies between the notes. So it's used to produce kind of a more dynamic type of a mood in a piece. staccato. So that's the 4 techniques that I wanted to talk to you about. And the 5th one is when you fuse voice and the violin together. It's kind of tricky to do because you need to hold your violin so that your left hand is free to move around and you use your jaw for that. And you also need to open your jaw a little bit for singing. So it's very tricky, but still doable. So I've been working on this piece called Flower Duet from Opera Lakme. It's in French, so I'm curious if you're going to recognize any word I'm saying very well. So it's a duet that is sung by 2 voices, but I'm doing one of them in violin and one I'm singing. So let me just demonstrate a short piece from there.
You sure that was French?
I was curious if you could recognize anything. Hey, I did the best I
Sounded
could.
Latin or something.
I have the words written down. I'm going to read you. Read it after the meeting, and I'm going to have you pronounce it back to me. And then we'll compare the notes. I'm curious how similar it'll sound. So that's the 5 techniques. And since I don't see the green from Chris, I'm assuming we have a couple of minutes. So what I'm going, oh, actually, no, never mind. What I wanted to do next is demonstrate all 5 of them in one piece and kind of see how the mood changes depending on the techniques I'm using or the fusion that I'm using. And I'm going to use Yesterday by Beatles to do so. So I'll start with detach. Legato. Pizzicato. Staccato. And now voice and violin together. Suddenly, I know how I used to be. A shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday can suddenly. Very fun combining them all at once, and especially now when staccato I was using, it was really kind of weird to hear in Yesterday, right? It was like producing not necessarily the proper mood for this. Since I still don't see green, let me pass the violin around and just let you to take a closer look. Just take a look, you can plug the strings a little bit and just pass it. Just be careful, I'm sure you can do it. And just pass it around the table so you just can take a look what it is.
How old is this violin?
This violin is about 40 years old. It was handmade, costed 500 rubles. And that was 4 years ago, about $500, a ton of money. But my dad somehow thought it was a good idea. I didn't know any better, so now I have it. What I wanted to talk about while you're passing around is how the sound is produced. Obviously, you strike a bow, the strings with the bow, but this is not enough to produce the right amount of grip for the string to vibrate. So what we use to help with that gripping is something called rosin. It's a tree resin. This is happened to pine tree. And we apply it to the whole amount of the bow. And that's what produces enough stickiness so that the bow sticks to the string and it grabs it. And that's what makes the string vibrate. And that's what produces the sound. Okay. I talked about 4 techniques today and I demonstrated them. Detach, legato, pizzicato, staccato. I talked and demonstrated the musical fusion. And I let you feel the violin today. And hopefully we didn't have any qualms with that. Hopefully the timing, because I still don't see the green light. So I really hope that you learned a little bit more about the violin today. And I really hope that you learned a little bit more about me today. Thank you, everyone. See you, Mr. Toastmaster.